It's just like any regular plant, except it's also a classified drug. It can make you high, and it's still illegal in more than 190 countries around the world.
I'm talking about marijuana.
Nowadays, the world is not so fearful. In the US, for example, more than half of the states have legalised marijuana for medical use, 8 of them also allowing it just for fun. Their justification, it can be therapeutic. It'll wipe out the unregulated black market and offers millions of dollars in tax revenue. But what about the environment? As cannabis becomes a hefty industry, like any other, it's going to have a hefty footprint.
Cannabis is extraordinarily energy intensive to grow. In fact, it is arguably the most energy intensive agricultural commodity in our ecosystem because of the amount of cannabis that is grown indoors.
That's because growing cannabis inside requires electricity, a lot of it, to run all the high-intensity bulbs, ventilation, dehumidifiers, heating and cooling needed for the plant to thrive. Research suggests indoor marijuana operations already account for a whopping 1% of total US electricity use. 1%? Let's put it this way, growing just 4 plants indoors requires the equivalent electricity of 29 refrigerators. So perhaps we should take this outside. But therein lies another set of problems. Getting a patch of land ready can mean cutting down forests, diverting rivers and destabilising whole ecosystems. The consequences most evident in the drought-prone state of California, which produces a staggering 60% of all marijuana in the US. Take a look at this area here, known as the Emerald Triangle, because of all the pot that's grown there. Sociologist Anthony Silvaggio uses Google Earth to show the devastating effects wrought by industrial-scale growers, often unregulated. In the images, we can see bare patches on top of the mountains where forest would have been. In 2012, there were 600 industrial-scale grows in Humboldt County. Today, an estimated 4,000 to 8,000. It also doesn't help that marijuana is thirsty. A single plant needs 23 litres of water every day, double the amount of grapevines. Here, a raid undertaken by the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. The location, an illegal farm in Mendocino County with a network of ponds diverting water across the property. It was considered a small operation, but still big enough to haul out more than 2,500 plants with a street value of $10 million US.
We don't care so much about the actual marijuana, but the destruction to the environment. It's devastating when even a small little creek is dammed up and they steal the water and divert it into swimming pools, into large ponds that they dig out. And what that does is it robs the land, the fish, and the animals downstream from that, literally of their life source.
Now let's add pesticides and other poisons to the mix. A type of rodenticide found on cannabis farms has been blamed for pushing a threatened species to the brink of disappearance. Think it's a one-off case? Think again. One study found that 84% of California's medical marijuana contained concerning levels of pesticide residue. So with all this in mind, is it possible to grow marijuana sustainably? Some say yes. Legalization could help by setting standards for energy, water and land use. The state of Colorado, for example, requires growers to either use 100% renewable energy or compensate by paying a fee. Others say high-tech greenhouses are the answer with LED lights and rainwater. To explain more what sustainable marijuana might look like, we're joined by Florent Bouffier, graduate of America's first cannabis college.
Yes, we can grow environmentally friendly cannabis as long as it's not produced on extremely large surfaces. We could split up the different steps of the process across several producers. That's why we shouldn't restrict the number of grower permits. We have to be very precise regarding regulations. For example, ban the excessive use of pesticides, water or lighting. while at the same time being flexible enough to encourage people to embrace this crop and adopt the right methods of growing it.
S'approprier les bonnes méthodes de culture.
That's what's happening, for example, in Colorado, where the Hispanic community had control over the distribution of marijuana. In Colorado, the Hispanic gangs have completely disappeared. They've moved to other states because they no longer have a market, because people have access to a high-quality product, cannabis that is clean and legal.
There may just be another solution. Plans are underway to set up a champagne-like system of labels for marijuana, a kind of cannabis appellation. If a certain appellation is linked to environmentally friendly practices, you can be sure that the product you're buying is not only of the highest quality, but also sustainably sourced, pesticide-free and carbon neutral. In other words, weed that is truly green.